What's up everybody, Frank Valkyria, welcome to the channel. New video after Christmas, hope you're doing fantastic. Let's go together. Before we go, also, if you want to support this channel, you can do it with one of the links below. Whether checking my books or listening to my music on Spotify or buy me a coffee, whatever you feel like it. It's a nice way to support a reaction channel that focuses basically on making money for record labels. So anyway, if you feel like it, you don't have to. Let's go together and check out Brazil, Gigante Americano. Huh? We know Brazil is huge. It's pretty huge. Big, big country. Probably one of the biggest country in terms of landmass. Yeah. The fifth. Wow. And also quite varied landscape. And the lung of the world, the Amazons. I saw that some of you guys in the comment section got a little bit upset, saying like, oh, it's not true, the Amazon is protected, don't believe what they tell you, that they're cutting it down. Well, I don't need to believe any political affiliation. You just have to look at satellite images of 30 years ago compared to now. Then you realize the difference. But that's for like almost every place, also for some lakes, unfortunately. Those landscapes are beautiful, intact, varied. There is an heritage of abundance, of plants and everything. It's a little bit like also Italy. It's very peculiar. I think Italy, being a small country and being in a warmer sea, it's like it's placed specifically in an area where allows for the thriving of so many different plants and flowers and fruits and vegetables. Probably actually some of the most, if not the most varied in terms of what you can produce in agriculture on such a small scale, such a small territory. I was surprised when I learned that Brazil has 210, 214 million inhabitants. It's pretty remarkable. I assume most inhabitants, most people live in bigger cities. Beautiful this Rio de Janeiro shot with those very rounded, peculiar hills and mountains opening up into the valley. Just stunning. I think this is a mistake. I don't think Brazil is ahead of France and United Kingdom in terms of this is wrong. I recently know that Italy and Brazil, they are neck and neck. Actually, Brazil passed a little bit Italy based on the gross domestic product. I think Brazil has done in 2019 or 2020, we are heading around the 2 trillions of a gross domestic product, and Italy was like 1.82 trillion as well, like depending now on the numbers they're gonna check also this year. And Italy was at the 8th spot, so Brazil is like, you know, between 8 and 9. But France, I think it's ahead. Should be, France is ahead of Italy, so it must be in the 7th or 6th. And United Kingdom probably is at the 5th or 6th. They must have more than 2 trillion gross domestic product. Military, I don't know. Actually, honestly, I don't know much about Brazil military. Not that matters to me. I think the biggest military in the world, of course, is the US, probably followed by China, Russia, India also has a huge military. So I don't know if Brazil makes it in the first 10. Actually, I missed the reading there. But honestly, if you ask me, but this is not just regarding Brazil, but any country, if we spend a little bit less money in warplanes and warships and put the money in agriculture and resources and finding how to do research, how to produce more effectively, efficiently, I think that, to me, that's called progress. To me, this honestly is a waste of money. But then everybody has their own opinion. I mean, the same thing does the US. The US spends the most money on their militarization, and it's truly a waste. And then people don't have like affordable health care, unfortunately. That's pretty sad. Definitely, Brazil. It's an emerging, newer superpower. I'm sure it's part of the G20, or it's going to be part of the G20. It's part of the G20 or part of the G8 plus something. Italy, in being such a small country, it's been, unfortunately, it's been affected by decades and decades of wrong leadership. And it's truly sad because Italy still, with just 60 million people, one of the most industrialized country in the world, one of the leader in research and progress, together with, of course, US and other European countries. It's interesting to see those videos because I get it. This is probably made by a fan. Everybody wants their country to be relevant. Everybody wants their country to shine more, to sort of climb on top of the hip of the pile. But then again, you also realize that, one thing, and I understand that, one thing, wanting to apply this sort of blueprint of the American dream, what basically the US have done since the end of the Second World War with the American dream and industrialization and the comfort and consumerism, everybody with the washing machine, everybody with the dryer, like utensils, that idea of enough space in the house with the drive-through, with the drive-away, 2 cars, whatever. It's been like the designing of the American dream and the designing and the birth of commercials, selling products to people, customers. So more or less that's where it started, and now every country is trying to get there. And I understand everybody wants to have a better lives, everybody wants to have access to more things. But then at the end of the day, this is also the reason why we are where we are today in terms of pollution. Brazil, it's one of the biggest exporter of meat. I think probably meat, it's one of the biggest industry in Brazil. And because of that, there is huge agriculture dedicated to feeding cattle, huge farmlands, huge animal farming, producing, I don't know, probably bigger is only the US in terms of also, cattle farming, meat industry, producing methane, polluting water with feces and all that kind of stuff. And it's unfortunate because those gigantic animal factories, animal farming, basically takes land away from production of food for people, which actually less land is required to produce vegetables and other things. So progress is not just industrialization and producing more, even though every country wants to get there. You can see it for China. China is the second largest economy. It's just behind the US. I think China goes around 12 trillion domestic product, gross domestic product a year. And you can see like the level of pollution. Yet that kind of economy is driven just by like a couple hundred million people probably, or let's say like a couple hundred millions are benefiting from it in terms of salaries. There's still like hundreds and hundreds of millions of people in China which they live close to the level of poverty or below. They're farmers. The same thing in India. So I wonder also how true this is for Brazil. Out of 240 million inhabitants, how many are part of the middle class, higher class, upper class, and how much live close to poverty. Obviously, every country has the rich upper class, the people that manage to get their hands on resources, telecommunications, and like really the basic stuff. That once you sell those services, the growth is exponential and gigantic. So probably there's plenty of billionaires there as well. But that does not say everything about the country, unfortunately. It's like in Italy, Like in Italy, it's a rich country, yet a lot of people that have difficulties. I had to leave my country, just to make you understand. Oh, it's also a choice, of course. But I came from the south of Italy, and was quite difficult. It was quite difficult to fit in. It was quite difficult to find an employment. It was quite difficult to start a business. It was quite difficult everything, especially if you come from underprivileged circumstances. If your parents are already workers, which they're just basically living from paycheck to paycheck, and you pay the rent. If you already come from that type of family, it's quite hard to envision to start something. I'm not saying it's impossible, but pretty difficult. Was pretty difficult. I think Brazil it's probably plagued by also this still underlying fascination with the post-dictatorial fascism. I mean, I see similar type of behavior also in Italy. There are still people with somehow they have some kind of strange fascination with the Mussolini era, the Second World War Hitler affiliation Mussolini type, so to speak. There's some people still trying to sort of justified or looking into the better part of that fascist movement, the nationalistic movement of the pre-Second World War era. It's totally messed up in that way. Yeah. And in Italy, we also had the emerging because of the fascist party and the Second World War and everything that happened. We also had the strange fascination and love and expansion of the Communist Party. Literally communist from the USSR that then became socialist, whatever. And then there is still also that mentality in a lot of actually European country. I think it's a little bit similar also in Spain. All the country that suffered a little bit more from the fascist dictatorship, afterwards they sort of lean towards this utopic idea of a communism, or Marxism, which I've never been a fan either, honestly. Those, to me personally, those are ancient, archaic ideals of how to structure a society, and they're a total failure. They prove their failure. And every time I have always argument with some friends, which of course are more like communist oriented, and they always try to justify like the good part of Marxism and the capital and so on and so forth. I'm a futurist. I believe in science and in applying new ideas for the problems that there exist in the present. You cannot look always at the past in the past to solve problems of the future. And this is the mistake of people. We get attached to ideals. We get attached emotionally to an image, to a character, to somebody of the past, of what they say, and we try to force that idea. We try to force that attachment, that personal attachment, into our present reality. And that's not the way, in my opinion, to solve problems. The fact that Brazil is so involved in space, to me, that's the biggest thumbs up, because I love space, I love science, so that's the part that resonates the most with me. For the rest, in terms of like countries following the same blueprint of the US from the 50s, I'm not so impressed. Neither for Brazil, nor for Italy, nor for any other country, from Indonesia or whatever, just because I know that that type of blueprint, it just produces more pollution, it just produces more inequality, it just produces more and also more damage. So I actually would love to see progress measured in how many scientists a country produces, how much research a country is involved in, how much a country is aware of how to minimize waste and be more efficient in its industrialization, more conscious about how much pollution it produces, not just the gross domestic product, That, as for a fact, we have seen that it's just leading to self-destruction. So in that respect, I'm not incredibly impressed. But I understand fully that every country is trying to have more benefits. I get that. But especially coming from Europe, which people here have been blessed with possibilities compared to so many other places around the globe. But at the end of the day, we also have to realize that we have to look at the present with new solutions. Otherwise, we're going to be suffocated by fumes, literally, and methane gas from cows. So anyway, guys, that was fascinating to look at. Thank you so much. If you want me to react to more of this type of video, sorry for the ranting, but I guess, just watching images allowed me also to have a stream of thoughts over it. So that was really nice. Anyway, let me know which other artists you want me to react in the week to come, heading towards the new year. And I'll see you later in another video. Always spread love. You take care. Ciao, ciao. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe. It's free. It is.